Thank you. Uh, yeah, this is uh, a screensaver of my sister Diane and her husband Jim, who really was my big brother. I never had a real, like a blood big brother. I have a younger brother, but I was his big brother. I had a couple big sisters, and she was the oldest of them. And I want to sort of talk a little bit about uh, three days of grieving with Jim and of course Diane too, and what that means and how that goes. So I think that's enough for folks to see. Um, they were stopping there in Traverse City, Michigan, to see a friend I went to school with, Seamus Shinners, and his wife Jackie. His wife Jackie took this picture. All right. I don't uh, I don't have a lot of notes on this because I didn't start it till Friday, and well, there's just I spent most of my time sitting here in the Zendo with Jim three times a day, and but there'll be enough, I think. There's a quote by Tolstoy that I want to start with. Uh, Leo Tolstoy. He said, "When the suffering of another creature causes you to feel pain, do not submit to the initial desire to flee from the suffering one, but on the contrary, come closer, as close as you can to those who suffer, and try to help them." Yeah, I like that quote. Um, I I didn't learn really much about grief in my upbringing as a Roman Catholic. Actually, nobody really significant died until I was 40, and my grandmother died, and that was a great loss. But I didn't have 1 minute of training in at any level of my Catholic education, all the way to doing a master's degree at the University College Dublin, doing a whole college career at Notre Dame, a great Catholic university. Not one a second of of instruction on how to deal with this kind of loss. And so I'm wearing my Tibetan kata here because the Tibetans were the ones who introduced me to this, and I'm really grateful for that. Um, Part of sitting with Jim in these first 3 days, sat with him this morning too, is um, well, part of what came back to me from this vigil is it started working its way into a poem. That's just what happens to me. And Jim uh, authored this poem as much as I did. It's called Selah, Selah, and that's a Hebrew word. Uh, it's the Hebrew word for grief. There's, I think, four of the Hebrew characters uh, that actually would pronounce Selah, and it's their word for grief, and it means creating the time to pause, reflect, and feel meaning whenever life, loss, and love collide. And it will happen to all of us. It's happened to you already, probably. And it will happen. I look at my picture of my grandmother there on the altar who died at 96. And you would think that's great to live to be 100 or 105 or 96. she had three other siblings who never came over from Italy who made over 100. So she was a little let down when she was going. I said, "Oh, and I said, hey, Grandma, round up. It's close." But the point is, longevity has another side of the coin. You lose most of the people that you went through life with, all your good friends, family members, and so no human being gets through this thing unless maybe you die in infancy, where life and loss and love don't collide. Uh, uh, the word Salah appears almost 70 times in the Psalms, that the monks chant day after day out at the Abbey of Gethsemane. Part of the reason I'm here is because I went there in the 80s and felt drawn to move up here. Yeah, so they're chanting these 150 Psalms every couple of weeks. They're running through all of them. And this word, this sense of grief, is dealt with Psalms. According to the Tibetans, there are no dead people in Tibet, only dead bodies. We're going to come back to that one after I go through the whole poem. When a Trappist dies, and I was there when my spiritual director, Gregory, died. They called me up. Monks rarely used the phone, but they called me up and said, Gregory's going out. This is in the year 2000. We'd been together for 18 years, walking every first Saturday of the month for 2 hours through the woods. And he's imparting his guidance on all my struggles. And so they called me, and I came over, and he was already laid out on a bier down in the entrance, to right in between where the choir stalls were, and then they had a candle at his foot and two candles at his head, and there was two chairs there. And there was a couple of monks when I arrived, a couple of monks, one on one side, one on the other, and they were going back and forth, running through the Psalms, something Gregory had done for almost 50 years. And when Trappist dies, they chant these Psalms continually over their brother until they lay his body in the grave. And usually it's the next day in his cowl. They put a few boughs of cedar on the bottom of the grave, and they're chanting as they lower him down. And I couldn't be there for the burial. I had a retreat down in Nashville at a place called Harmony Landing, and so Pam and the kids went, and I really sorely missed that. But they invited me to come and join them, so the two monks will sit for half an hour, and then the two more monks will come in. So I was able to sit there with Gregory and then take turns chanting over him. So that's a monastic tradition in the Trappist. Tibetans, on the other hand, continue to accompany the departed traveler. They call the departed traveler a dilog in Tibetan. They accompany the departed traveler for 49 days, sending them light, love, and guidance for their journey. The Tibetans spent 700 years before the Chinese invaded. They're still doing it in exile, but they spent 700 years practicing, studying dying and what happens next. And they kept lab notes of this. They're the great technicians and scientists of dying and death. And because of Tibet's unique climate, it's cold and high and dry. They would never move, never move somebody who's on this travel at all for 2 or 3, maybe 4, as long as 4 days. And then they'd prepare the ceremony and they wouldn't bury them. They'd usually burn them. because of the permafrost. It was so hard to dig out there. So they normally burn them. But they will go on for 49 days. And they think it's important to send them light and love and guidance for the journey. On my prayer board here in the hollow, I'm looking at it right now. There's a picture of Jim on his motorcycle on their road trip around Lake Michigan, which you've seen, and with Diane behind him, smiling like the sun. I keep a candle lit in front of it for 49 days, electric candle, so I can just recharge it when it starts to get dim. I'll keep that candle lit for 49 days, day and night, as I ride with both of them, as I ride with both of you around whatever great lake of sorrow or joy we find ourselves traversing. I find that image of circling the lake. Sometimes it's a lake of sorrow, and sometimes it's a lake of joy. And I'm going to be traveling with them for 49 days. To grieve or to be grieved wholeheartedly is the ultimate soul food. So Diane and Jim and I will break bread together along the way. Yeah, I want to just double back and tease out a few things I haven't talked about. Jewish our Jewish brothers and sisters have had a long tradition of sitting Shiva, which is a 50-day period of mourning. The apostles, what we call Pentecost, Pente meaning, Pentecost being 50 days after Jesus disappeared, the resurrected Christ just disappeared. Well, they were in a kind of Shiva. Were sitting Shiva in that sense. Most of them were the Jewish folk. Jesus lived and died a Jew. So that whole Pentecost thing was the 50 days after the disappearance, the disembodiment of, they had nobody to be with. And so this word and also in Orthodox Jews, they will cover all the mirrors in the household for the 50 days because they don't want you looking at your own reflection. They want you to pause, reflect, and feel meaning of the life that has departed. The Hebrew word for grief is salah, and it means creating the time to mourn. It's just like with meditation. I have so many people I'm working with, and they say, well, I mean well, but I can't find the time to sit. It's just in the normal run of things, Well, you never find the time. Our society, our culture steals your time. You have to create it. This is a creative endeavor, not just grief, but grief certainly is. But to have a contemplative life is a creative endeavor. You have to create the time. In this case, in special case of when there's I say when life and love and loss collide, you have to create the time because we don't really much have a structure for that in our culture anymore, and we've lost the significance of it. And what are you doing during this time? You're pausing out of the daily flow of things to reflect, which is why they cover the mirrors, and feel the meaning of this loss, feel the meaning of the relationship you had to the person. Or, there's lots of other losses, as we've talked about. You lose a vocation, you lose a limb, you lose a relationship, you lose a marriage. All these things. To feel the meaning of that, it takes time. I'm going to spend the next 46 days sitting with Jim and pausing, and 3 times a day to do that and to reflect and to feel the meaning. And it's starting to come. Part of what comes when you take this time is memories come back that you haven't thought about for a long time. And if I have time at the end, I'll share one memory of Jim. My earliest memory of him. Yeah. Uh, for Tibetans, there are no dead people in Tibet or anywhere. There's only dead bodies. Uh, my first Zen master, Suzuki Roshi, said one time, and I couldn't comprehend it. I was only 22 and nobody had died, but he said, uh, we die and we do not die. Both are true. So what he's talking about, yeah, there'll be a dead body somewhere in the future for me. Hopefully, not exactly the near future, but at some point, dead body will be there. But the Tibetans said no. That's why they call uh, the traveler, the Dilog, the departed traveler. They call him a traveler because not only do they not, there are no dead people in Tibet, only dead bodies, but they don't really have a word for afterlife, something afterlife. They have the word as life, and we will transition to a whole other bit of road trip there that will not be in time and space. Those of you, we talked one time about uh, Eben Alexander, the neurosurgeon from Boston, who was in a coma for 6 days and went beyond time and space into what's next. And the Bardo, the Tibetans would call it. And he had no sense of time uh, until he came back and then put it back together that he had actually been in a coma on life support for 6 days. And then when he came back, was the only then he had a sense of space and time. I mean, in our postmodern world, most people don't really think there is anything beyond space and time, beyond this. When you die, the lights go out and you cease to exist, which is one of the human beings' great fears. Well, the Tibetans don't buy that because they had people come back and tell them about it, lots of them for 700 years. That's what they were doing. They were studying and also helping people to prepare for it. The Dalai Lama uh, prepares to die every day before he goes into his emptiness meditation. He runs through the five dissolvings, he calls them. He goes through earth, water, fire, air, into space. And he practices that. It's sort of like, in school, you practiced uh, fire drills so that you wouldn't panic when actually the fire showed up, if it actually did. Well, we're all going to face death. Our culture denies it, it distracts us. I mean, the denial of death by uh, famous writer won the Pulitzer in the 70s. He just said, our culture is built on that, and we have all the mechanisms. Netflix, Amazon, guilty. uh, and they're going to, the Tibetans were going to go on accompany these people. So every day they read a passage from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, 49th of it, 49 parts of it. And the monks will do it, and then the family will get together if they want. And on the 49th day, they have a celebration, and then they give away all the person's belongings to raise money. In most cases, raise money for the monastery, but it's a kind of you don't have to worry in old Tibetan society about downsizing, so your children don't have to deal with it. It's built into the culture. They give it away, and people bid on it, and then they'll take this, they'll take that, and then the money goes to the monastery, or in some cases to the children or the family, if it's not a monk. I'm looking at my prayer board down there. There's a picture of the picture we saw in the screensaver there. And you create rituals, and this just is mine. I keep his picture there. During COVID, I had Sister Elaine's picture there, the Dominican who died before the vaccines came out. She was a great soul friend of mine. And it's the first time I actually did the 49 days, and it was rich. It was soul food. And I'm so much closer to her. We have some kind of a bond that can't be broken now. Uh, but to be grieved, when you are the departed, and to know you will be grieved deeply and will be supported on your journey to what's next, uh, that's that's soul food. The soul is what goes on, you say. So, you know, just even that three-part thing in the word sila, to be able to to create time to pause, to reflect. They cover the mirrors because how much time do we spend looking in the mirror at our own image? Uh, to pause, to reflect, and to feel the meaning of your losses. Uh, on the far side of this, and in the process, you learn a lot. I really, as a teacher and still a teacher, I'm just committed. That's sort of my main priority, is to keep learning, and also how to adapt. How do you live after a loss, a huge loss? You can't live the same way. My life's going to be totally. It is already totally changed without having Jim on this planet. So you learn how to adapt, and finally, you learn to trust your heart and soul, because part of the reason we don't grieve, well, the culture just doesn't support it, but we haven't really been instructed that only your heart and soul can grieve, and if you've done the whole brain living, uh, your right brain is what grieves. That's where the heart and soul live. It's the essence. Now, after this body will grow cold uh, and be cremated, my physical heart won't be there, but the heart and soul goes on. Yeah, and will come back. It will come back. Uh, so that's a bit of it. One small poem that I sort of it's been changing by the minute, but I just wanted to put this journey in a very small uh, uh, poem, 20 words or less. And this is the poem. A version of it came out yesterday. In the I couldn't say any more about what's going on in Gaza, but I just sent a version of this poem. This is the current version. Uh, Only the altar of the heart is vast and tender enough to hold life's collision of love and loss. Um, I have few people on my prayer board there, and I'm adding them all the time. Not just on the board, but on the altar. That prayer board's on the altar. It's a symbol of the altar of my heart. People say, "Oh, so and so's got cancer. There, can you pray for him?" I always say yes. Uh, I was reluctant to say that before I actually started working with the Haitians, or not the Haitians. Well, certainly the Haitians, but the Tibetans. But yeah, and especially when I realized I had something in me that was so vast, uh, limitless, and eternal, that I could had enough space for everybody. I call that the altar of my heart, the altar of the heart, and it's vast, but it's also tender enough. The left brain can't grieve. The left brain can't forgive either. So much the important stuff in life, uh, and really the left brain can't love. It can do some stuff for people you love, which is important, but left brain runs on fear. It's a survival program. God bless it. But it can't do the important things. It certainly can't grieve. can't forgive, can't love. So only the altar of the heart is vast and tender enough to hold life's collision of love and loss. And I'll send the notes out. It's not much, but I'll have some resources if you want to really, unless you take it upon yourself to learn how to do this, there's going to be a lot of ungrieved material in your life. And that's not good. That's just like build up of cholesterol and plaque in your arteries. It's no good. So I'll give you some three of the best books I've read on it. And I want to end with a quote by Hemingway, and then we'll go to the meditation. Hemingway said, "The world breaks us all. And afterward, some of us are stronger in those broken places." The world breaks us all. It's true. If you're trying to construct a world without loss or grief, it's not going to be much of a life. People try it. And there's traumatic grief. I just absolutely can't imagine what it's like to be in places like Gaza. Uh, there's unbelievable trauma there. Uh, uh, and I pray for those people every day. Just it's going to take a lot of solidarity from a lot of people all over the earth to help people through trauma like that. But I think just to sort of commit not to live a world that is, you know, trying to avoid this stuff. We're taught that. They say, oh, you got to get closure. Well, I didn't want it. I've never had closure with my grandmother. Don't want it with Sister Elaine. Don't want it with either of my parents, and certainly don't want it with Jim. Who would want to close a relationship? And it's all of those are still changing. They're growing as I grow, and in some sense, they'll always be part of your soul. You see, that's how we have. Also in the soul are all the ungrieved things from your perhaps previous existence, and certainly from your ancestors, because a lot of cultures lost the practice of grieving. The world breaks us all, and afterwards, some of us are stronger in those broken places. And I agree with Hemingway. Hopefully, Jim will be stronger at the end of this kind of period to what's next, the Bardo period. Uh, that's been my experience. So, yeah.